Okay, so moving on to micronutrients' role as antioxidants. So these micronutrients are showing up as coenzymes and cofactors. Again, so either activating or acting as a prosthetic in various different processes. So we'll talk about their role in some of our immune function, and then with a main focus on their ability to neutralize these free radicals. So acting as antioxidants is neutralizing free radicals. And so free radicals are going to show up a lot as just a byproduct of our aerobic metabolism. And so being able to quickly neutralize those free radicals is going to limit the damage that they can do. We'll look at slides describing it more here. But like I said before, a free radical is basically a molecule carrying an extra electron and thus is going to steal protons, those hydrogen nuclei from other nearby molecules, which produces this chain reaction of molecules basically attacking other molecules until they can be neutralized by mainly vitamins and some of our minerals. And so free radical formation is that taking on of an extra electron. So we'll look at oxygen creating superoxide, which can be a result of that electron transport chain. Typically, oxygen is the final electron acceptor in this chain, but will also accept one of the free protons floating in the matrix, and that will produce water as a result. But if there aren't enough free protons, or if oxygen steals that electron earlier on in the chain, it will produce superoxide, which is a free radical. So we see oxygen here with 9 electrons instead of its typical 8. And that's going to cause that chain reaction of stealing hydrogens from the next molecule. And so again, this is a natural process that occurs during our metabolism, but they can also be increased in frequency due to pollution, air pollution, due to too much sun exposure with those ultraviolet lights, from toxic substances like smoking tobacco, and then other things like radiation, asbestos, toxic substance there. So we can see what I was just talking about here with the production of superoxide, this O2 minus, as a result of the electron transport chain. Okay? So typically, it's going to accept an electron as well as one of these protons and create water. But if those protons aren't available, or if it's stealing electrons earlier on in the process, it might just produce this superoxide free radical. And these free radicals end up damaging other cells. So the cell membrane is a big area where we see damage occurring from too much of these free radicals. It's going to damage or interrupt the bonds between our various lipids. And so an antioxidant, such as vitamin E here, will stabilize that free radical and can either repair the damage to the lipids or just replace them for a time in order to maintain that stability of the membrane. And so these major sites of damage, as I said, cell membranes, very common, as well as our low density lipoproteins, which are carrying cholesterol and other fats throughout your blood. And so when there are too many free radicals, it could damage that LDL and thus increase the amount of cholesterol it's depositing within your blood vessels and increase the potential of clotting. It can damage the proteins within our cells and can affect our DNA synthesis. It's going to be really important for our ability to make new cells. So the main vitamins and minerals that we're going to be looking at involved in immune function through this use in antioxidants, or as an antioxidant, are going to be the lipid-soluble vitamins, vitamin E and vitamin A, and then the water-soluble vitamin C, as well as the minerals zinc, copper, selenium, and manganese. So this is showing the function of this antioxidant, right? So we have our superoxide produced here, 2 oxygens carrying 1 extra electron. And this is going to interact with other nearby molecules, stealing their hydrogen protons, leaving them behind as a free radical. And so they will go interact with another molecule, stealing their hydrogen, producing a new free radical, and so on and so forth, right? That domino effect, that chain reaction. Right? So it steals the hydrogen atom, thus creating a new free radical. It's leaving behind a molecule that now has an extra electron, which will then want to steal from another molecule. And so an antioxidant, for instance, vitamin E, will donate a hydrogen atom to that free radical. So it's not taking the extra electron, it's donating a proton to stabilize that new molecule. And so in the case of vitamin E, this is just going to deactivate vitamin E rather than turning it into its own free radical where it's going to interact with others. it just becomes inactive. It no longer has the ability to donate this hydrogen that it was carrying. And then vitamin C can then reactivate vitamin E by taking or by donating an electron or donating a proton to it as well. We have them interacting with each other in all these pathways. So vitamin E is primarily acting as an antioxidant, restoring the stability to those free radical molecules. And it's going to work in concert with all the other antioxidants. They are all affecting each other. So great sources of vitamin E are going to be our polyunsaturated plant oils. So you can get those from the oils that you use to cook with, our olive oils and sunflower oils, canola oils, etc. But they also come from the plants themselves that are carrying them, as well as our various seeds and nuts. We're storing a lot of, or that are carrying a lot of fats from those plants. But any of these fat-soluble vitamins are going to be easily destroyed by heat and oxygen. So it's really important that you're storing your oils, your plant oils, in dark colored containers to prevent how much light is getting into it, and storing them within cool areas so they're not being affected by that. I'm not going to focus too much on deficiency symptoms, except for some of the ones that I want to highlight. So next, we'll look at vitamin A. Right? With a big focus on their role as an antioxidant, but they also play a role in stimulating our various immune system cells. They play a role as retinal, which is a major component of our retina, allowing us to perceive light, and they play a role in protein synthesis. So vitamin A's come as retinoids or carotenoids. We have retinol, retinal, which is the one we'll see in our eyes, and retinoic acid. And then carotenoids come as alpha, beta, or gamma carotene. And as you can see, this is beta carotene. If you look at the structure of these retinols, carotene is basically two retinols together. If you cut this in half, you would have two retinols. And so retinoids, being in that more simplistic form, are easily carried by other lipids, and thus are typically considered more bioavailable, more usable, more absorbable, right? So we have a comparison here. So in order to reach the equivalent of 1 microgram of retinol, you would need to eat 24 micrograms of alpha carotene or gamma carotene, or 12 micrograms of beta carotene in order to give the equivalent of that 1 microgram of retinol. Okay? So these retinoids are much more bioavailable. So the role they play in our eyesight, right? So retinal is a part of these rods and cones that are going to be perceiving photons from the light that is going into our eyes. Okay? And so that retinal is in this cis conformation when it is not perceiving light, and the light reacts with it, changing its conformation into trans, which is going to conduct that signal through our nerves to our brain, giving us the perception of light. Okay? So if you don't have the retinol in your retina, it's not going to react to the light. And so we see retinol deficiency or vitamin A deficiency showing up as a part of what is called night blindness, right? The inability to see at night or in darker areas, because in darker areas, there's less light coming into your eyes. And so the less ability you have to perceive that light is going to decrease your ability to see even further. Right? It also plays a role in the lubrication of your cornea, which is really important for refracting the light that is coming into the eye so that they are hitting the retina cells. Also plays a role in cell growth. So it's going to signal our cells to differentiate into their specific tissue type and produce various proteins. And so we see this most significantly within our respiratory cells. Okay, so vitamin A is what is maintaining our healthy membranes, these mucous membranes that protect the cells within your respiratory system, since there are many, many different chemicals coming in through our airways, whether you're using a substance or not. Right? And so those can really easily damage those cells. So we have these cells being produced at a really high rate, but they need retinol to do that, or various vitamin A's to do that. And so when you don't have enough vitamin A, you see this keratinization, which is the dying of the cells and leaving behind their keratin protein, which reduces our ability to produce mucus and protect the rest of the cells, and can produce even further respiratory damage. Okay. So it also plays a role, of course, as an antioxidant, is our main focus here, right? Neutralizing free radicals, but also in our bone remodeling. So as I said, the calcium deposited in our bone is acting as storage that we can tap into when we need more calcium to be free within our blood. And so vitamin A helps in the stimulation of osteoclasts, which play a role in breaking apart that free calcium so that we have it in our blood. So we'll see a few slides like this highlighting different food sources. So you're welcome to spend more time on these, but you see the ones that are considered the best source per kilocalorie they produce are highlighted. This is showing per one serving, one typical serving of these foods, and then how much vitamin A they're producing. Right. Vitamin C, which you'll typically see showing up as ascorbic acid on your nutrition facts panels. It's very commonly used as a preservative for flavor and color within our foods. Has varying RDAs. Men typically have a higher RDA, but you see with smokers, regardless of sex, just that one activity of smoking, you're going to need more vitamin C to help with the respiratory damage as a result. So vitamin C has a wide range of functions that it performs. So first off, as an antioxidant, neutralizing those free radicals, but it's also a very important cofactor for collagen production. And collagen is making up the organic portion of your bone, is what is used in making your ligaments and tendons. Right? It's a very fibrous, flexible protein, collagen is. So also used to strengthen the walls of our blood vessels, form our scar tissue. And like I said, it's the organic portion of the matrix of your bone. Vitamin C also affects that thyroxine hormone synthesis within our thyroids. It affects our amino acid metabolism, our immune system function, and promotes iron absorption. So if you're eating a diet that is high in iron, but not high in vitamin C, you may not be absorbing that iron. Vitamin C is an important part of promoting that iron absorption. And so we can see an example here of why these act great as antioxidants. They have these two available hydrogens being carried with them. And so they can donate those hydrogens, you see them disappear here, thus neutralizing the free radical or reactivating vitamin E. As we saw, vitamin C can also take away or donate a proton to vitamin E, reactivating it and allowing it to act as an antioxidant. So pretty widely available, lots of our dark veggies, many various fruits, citrus. Yeah, okay. So this antioxidant system is going to show up a lot through the rest of these slides. So this is called superoxide dismutase, or superoxide dismutase system, which is using minerals as a way of neutralizing that superoxide, which is O2 negative here, O2 minus, right? Superoxide. Superoxide dismutase is the system that can act as an antioxidant for it as well. So not needing the vitamin. And so this is going to involve manganese, copper, and zinc. Right? You see all of them in these various processes. And it's going to turn superoxide into peroxide, which is still a free radical, just a less dangerous free radical, and can be used in other metabolic pathways. So the superoxide dismutase pathway is going to turn superoxide into hydrogen peroxide, that H2O2. And then these other pathways, catalase and the glutathione peroxidase pathways, are going to break that down further into water and O2, usable oxygen and usable water. So first off, copper, of course, part of that superoxide dismutase pathway. It also acts as a coenzyme for energy metabolism, or I should change this to cofactor, actually cofactor for energy metabolism, as a part of that cytochrome, those cytochromes that are in the electron transport chain, and plays a role in collagen production and aids in iron transport as well. So some good sources. See beef liver show up here again. Manganese acts as a cofactor for that free radical handling in that superoxide dismutase pathway. All life forms, so really any food is going to be carrying manganese because all life forms use manganese as cofactors for their enzymes. And so even though you could find it in all foods, some good sources here would be whole grains, some fruits like pineapple, pine nuts, etc. All right, a little bit about selenium here. Again, can be part of that glutathione peroxidase enzyme, which is acting in this pathway. It can regulate thyroid hormone activity. And selenium is very common in seafood. A lot of marine animals use it as a carrier for oxygen, the way that we use iron. So seafood is a great source of selenium, as well as whole grains and vegetables, depending on the soil content. Right? Our plants are getting their minerals through the soil. Right? And a bit more on zinc, which has a wider area of function or facilitation. So of course, part of the same system we've been focusing on, but also acts as a cofactor for the production of hemoglobin. It's going to carry oxygen, the activation of this enzyme carbonic anhydrase, which is going to allow us to dissolve and transport carbon dioxide. Plays a role in the development and function of our immune system, and is involved in the synthesis, storage, and secretion of the hormone insulin and vitamin A. And then lastly, plays a role in blood clotting, scab formation, those thyroid hormones, etc. And so the range of bioavailability, again, how well you're going to be able to absorb this, even if it's in your food, varies greatly, 15 to 40%, and is strongly correlated to the amount of fiber that is in that food. Right? So the more fiber that's in that food, which your body doesn't do as well of a job of absorbing, the less zinc you're going to get from that food. So this doesn't mean you should avoid fiber. You should be having fiber in your diet, just making sure you're also getting other foods that have high quantities of zinc that will be more bioavailable. I'm not going to look much into zinc recycling here, just the last little bit on sources. So all protein containing foods are going to end up high in zinc. This is another one of those that is a very common oxygen carrier for marine animals as well. So any seafood is going to be great, and whole grains. So that's all for this slide deck. And I will see you with one more addressing bone health and a little bit on cell communication.